There are 9 big steps that I did in my journey from stage 4 terminal to being cancer-free, healthy, and vibrant. I did not discover those 9 steps on my own. In fact, I researched the work of other cancer survivors and other people who had experienced a cancer remission. I read the work of the doctors who served them, and I basically decided to do what they did. And those 9 steps worked for me. And so I wanted to share those steps with you in case they might work for you. Welcome to the channel. My name's Cancer Fighter Owen, and I'm here to share my story. I'm here to share with you what I did to beat back my cancer, and my hope and my joy is to see you become very successful against your diagnosis. And I have to say it very carefully because if I say the wrong thing on this platform, they're gonna cut the video. And so I want to be respectful to the policies while trying to communicate with you in a very clear way. And if you ever do want to communicate with us in a more personal level, we have a cancer care support group that you're welcome to join. Links in the description box below. So what I'm going to talk about are the 9 steps to radical remission. And what radical remission means is it's a play on the medical term spontaneous remission. And this became the premise of Dr. Kelly Turner's book. So she was like a regular hospital doctor, right? Mainstream doctor. And she was seeing patients achieve what's called a spontaneous remission, meaning they were not doing the standard of care and their cancer went away. And what the hospital does, according to this book, what she saw the hospital do, is they would write that person as a spontaneous remission and then take them out of the main population database. So those people that achieved spontaneous remissions kind of got put on a separate list and then buried in the desert. And what Dr. Kelly sought out to do was study those people and actually go and see what's happening in this spontaneous remission. So she went around the world to interview 1,500 spontaneous remission survivors and to find out what they did. And she boiled it down into this great book. And there's a lot more than 9 things, but the 9 things were what they all shared. And this has become a pivotal part of our group and our philosophy. So I want to share with you the 9 steps to radical remission as talked about in her book. And I want to highly recommend that you get her book on Audible, and you could listen to that whenever you want. And I do, and I listen to it many times. I also invited my family to listen to it with me. And that was pivotal in helping them to understand why I was choosing the route that I chose. So here are the 9 steps that every person that she interviewed did. And this is in no particular order. Number 1, radical diet change. So every person that had a spontaneous remission that she studied took a radical diet change. This was absolutely true for me. When I got my diagnosis, I was still drinking wine while getting my MRI, not while, but like that night, and it's like, I just didn't have a mindset of healing. I went to a keto vegan diet, and then that led me to, actually what it is, a vegan diet, and that led me to keto vegan. And keto vegan is where I got just stellar results. Now I know other people that switched to juicing diets, and then I did a lot of fasting as well. So there's a lot of space in the radical diet change, and we've got a video on that. We'll pop it up on the screen on the different kinds of diets and things that we've done. Step number 2 is you got to be in charge of your health, what we call the CEO of your own health. We walk into the medical system as if they're in charge. And we treat them like they're in charge. We allow them to have that kind of power over us. And it's a scary place to be because I have a friend whose wife passed away. She passed away before I knew her. And he said, she never went to her own appointments. She was too afraid, too scared. And so he went to those appointments. So these kind of 2 examples of like the doctor being in charge, and then you don't even show up to it's too scary to go. Like, you've got to face your diagnosis head on, and you've got to lead the team. I was doing the same thing. My wife was attending all the calls. They were mostly Zoom calls at that time, but my wife attended all the calls. I couldn't even bear to hear the news about me. I couldn't bear to see the pictures. But I read this book and I go, you know what? I'm gonna start coming to my calls. And I started going to my calls and I started, tell me where the tumors are. Too many to number. Tell me the biggest. All right, this one, this one, this one, this one. Okay, how big are those? And I started measuring and I drew them out on my iPad and my notes. And I was like, I got really intimate with my disease. And I began to then sort of visualize and imagine myself conquering it. But I also took the lead on my health and wellness. I didn't wait for someone else to tell me what diet to do. It's like, I was Googling it, man. I was just taking massive action. Okay, 3, follow your intuition. Wow, your intuition, it's like a person inside you that can't speak. It doesn't have words. So it sends you feelings and emotions and memories. And this is kind of just a conversation my wife and I were having over dinner. But as I became the CEO of my own health and I began to read books like Radical Remission and Dr. Seyfried's book and learning about fasting, my intuition improved. As I began to learn about the harmful effects of and I saw what it was doing to my body, my intuition got better and better. It's very important because some of you out there are being told to do a treatment that you just know isn't gonna work. And I think you should lean into that. Number 4 is herbs and supplements. Wow, had a hard time with this one. But I learned about things like that Joe Rogan's now talking about, like quercetin. I learned about indole 3-carbinol, which is phenomenal. I also learned about sprouts and how powerful sprouts are in terms of their pro-health and anti properties. Herbs and supplements were and continue to be a big part of my healing journey. And I actually have a whole guide on the supplements that I took in the beginning, and I update it all the time so that you guys can kind of see what I'm taking now. And that's on the link in the description box. It's called my Keto Vegan Guide, but there's a supplemental guide in there as well. Okay, next one, release suppressed emotions. This is a really powerful one because this is the neuro-emotional side. We kind of talk about this in another video where we talk about the nocebo effect, and there's so much to say here about the emotional side of disease in general. In the book, they talk about this guy in a Latin American country who's a complete like wacky guy, right? He's very much been discredited. And yet he's still got these incredible results. And so there's you know, I referred this book to a friend and my friend was like, oh, and this book is wacko. I said, no, that one chapter is a little wacko. We have to look at it from a scientific perspective, I think, where it's like, and we know he was crazy and yet he had all these results. So there has to be something to that emotional side. So I invite you to explore that. How about this? Increase positive emotions. Huge part of my day now is just starting my day and getting the positive emotions going. And this is very much an active process for me, meaning that like, I don't just like wait for happy emotions to pop in. It's like, I'm priming the pump. Reminds me of that first scene in What About Bob, where he's like, I am good, I am great, I am wonderful.
Feel good, feel great, I feel wonderful.
Right, and we all know the Stuart Smalley example. I literally talk to myself in the mirror and I say things like, you're a good guy. You fight hard, you love your kids, you love the Lord, you're doing your best. And it's awkward, you know? But it's like, man, you gotta like go out and have fun. You can't just sit around and be cancer-y all day. You know, you gotta go out and do stuff. Embrace human connections, real hard one for me. I'm a bootstraps kind of guy. You've gotta have an interpersonal team. And that's what I did with Radical Remission is I kind of gave this book to some close friends, the Audible, and I was like, please read this. And know that this is going to be my healing route. And the people that agreed with it and were into it, like that became my inner circle. And those were the people that I shared my stuff with. Those are the people that I did my fundraising with. We did a GoFundMe to raise money. That became my inner circle. And the people on social media and the people that were in kind of the outer circle, like I had to put them in the outer circle. And I'll tell you, 1 or 2 of those people have become inner circle over the years. But you've got to have that. You don't have to tell everybody about your cancer journey, you know, but you should have an inner circle. And I've talked about this, you know, you should also kind of have a medical team, right? It's like, I probably had 3 to 5 nutritionists, doctors, therapists that I was talking to at any given time. And that's not because I'm rich. Like the money question comes into it. It's because I made phone calls and asked if I could talk to people. That's it. I didn't like call the doctor down the street. I didn't call the doctor's office. I looked people up on YouTube and I called them. And you know what? Those guys making YouTube videos, they want to get your calls. They like it. I would love it if one of you guys like called me and was like, hey, Owen, I want to like hang around you, and like, cool, the YouTube's working. And so I know that about YouTube. And I think you should know that too, is like call people, talk to people. Like, not everything costs money. And sometimes the money's worth it. Sometimes it's worth going completely broke, and there's value in that to get your life back. Deepen your relationship to God. No joke. I mean, I was a pretty strong Christian before I got sick. I learned how weak I was. You learn about what you believe. It's like, am I going to follow what I feel God is telling me to do? Or am I going to do what these well-educated, well-intentioned doctors are insisting I do? So when I stopped paying insurance, that was another huge, like, wow, like this is a trusting thing. There's a ton of stuff in the Bible about God and his relationship to those who are ill. There is nothing in the Bible that says God will gently rock you to your death and make you feel really comfortable about dying. So all of that is garbage. I feel at peace. I feel at peace, and this is the end. Like, that's not at least what the Bible seems to suggest about the character of God. In the Bible, it over and over again, Old Testament, New Testament, poetry, and the history books, it's, I will heal your diseases. And I think you should explore that. Lastly is have strong reasons to live. I mean, for me, it was my kids. It is my kids, It's my wife too. It's the family. But over time that's grown, it's developed. And I know that you may not think that you have a reason to live. You got to find them. Chris Beat Cancer talks about this too, is you got to make future plans, man. You got to like pick a project and like, I'm going to pick a 1,000-piece puzzle. I'm going to put that together. That's a small step, man. But no one who believes they're going to die tomorrow will start a puzzle today, right? So create the puzzle. Start the puzzle. Get a Lego set. Make plans to have a garden. If you're in the winter months, if you're in the summer months, make plans to go to a winter cabin. And then ultimately, I think you'll find more mission. This is something that you're going to struggle with, but it's going to get you where you want to go. So look, I highly recommend you get the book. Thanks for watching this video. I've got another video that you should watch that kind of goes into my treatments and takes sort of the next step. You can click on that video now. Love to hear from you in the comments section. Be a part of the journey. And remember that you are going to beat this, and we're going to walk there with you. So see ya.